For those of you that don't know me, my name is Robert Whittier. I am a senior. I am the student body president, ASUCC president. And so thank you all for coming tonight to our town hall that we're going to have tonight. Here we have President Hershberger. She's with us tonight. We have Dean Joel Perez, Jose Padilla, Director of Campus Safety, and we have other administrators and a few other faculty and staff that are around, of course. Amber, our Vice President, is going to go ahead and talk a little bit about how tonight's going to work out.
So, step away from my speaker first. So the way we're going to structure tonight's event is we're going to start off with a few opening remarks. At which point, I'm sure you all noticed when you first walked in that there are some boxes with questions in the back. Please feel free to write your questions down and put them in the appropriate box. What we're then going to do is take each box as we run down each category and ask those questions and allow for administration to give those responses. And so, at any point, feel free to add questions to the back. You're more than welcome to do that, so we have it in the back there, so be as least disruptive as possible. Also, let your friends know so they can show up as well. And just so that everyone is aware of BTS, we'd like to thank you very much for your support. For recording tonight's event, we can have the town hall available to you all at a later date. And then also thank you to POTUS for setting up our sound system, wherever you are. Okay, so with that being said, we're just going to allow for some opening remarks, and hopefully we can get to your questions soon. And just so you all know the agenda for the category issues, just so that we can work out with the schedules, because certain administrators are going to have to leave at certain times because they had prior engagements. We're going to start off with student life, move to campus safety, and then we will trickle into finances and miscellaneous, okay? Thank you very much. So with that, we'd like to start.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Is this okay? Yes? Okay, alrighty. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time to come to this very important meeting. And I think we all need to thank the ASWC for arranging it. So, thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate it. My understanding of what prompted the ASWC to do this tonight is they wanted to provide you with an opportunity to tell us about your concerns, and they also wanted us to have an opportunity to fill you in with information we may know, or just provide answers to whatever questions you might want to raise. And in particular, focus tonight on the recent incidents on campus that have raised your concerns. And let me tell you a little bit, let me set the stage really for what I'd like to accomplish tonight. I've been going around over the last few days, as have other members of the administration, and talked with quite a number of students on campus, and trying to hear students' concerns, also trying to fill in the information that we know that you might want to know, and to hear your thoughts and questions that might help us evaluate how the response to the recent incidents. And what I've been hearing are two primary concerns expressed by students. First, that many students have expressed concern about safety on campus, which is why we really wanted to focus on this tonight. Second, we heard that students want more information, not only about the specific incidents that happened recently, but also about what we're doing in response to them, and what we're doing in general to help students understand what's going on with security on campus. In addition to listening to students over the last few days, what you need to know is that the administrators involved in these incidents and kind of overseeing what happened in response have been doing a lot of talking among themselves. and we have learned a lot. We've done good analysis, I think, of what went well and what needs to be improved, and we're using that information as we move forward. I've made a decision that we're going to work with outside consultants who have expertise in campus security to study processes on campus. People who are well informed about security issues on campus and the latest in terms of best practices. So we'll bring in some outside consultants. We're already contacting firms that do this, who have this particular expertise. And they will come to campus as expeditiously as possible. And we're going to have them conduct a wide-ranging review of everything that we do. What's wonderful about doing that is bringing in people who have new eyes to look at what we do will help us understand what we have done really well and what needs to be improved. And we'll bring people who have worked with lots of different campuses. That's what's nice about bringing an external review team, is they've worked with lots of campuses, they've seen various other procedures, they've seen how incidents are handled on other campuses, and they can bring their multiple points of view. There are I also want to tell you that Jose, the three of us up here, are working together to bring this team. And we really value the insights that they will bring to this task. There are two roles that students can play as we do this. First, they will want to listen to you. They won't want to hear what we've already heard. They'll want to hear directly from you. And so we'd actually like to work with the ASWC and other groups, other offices on campus to get students who can participate in this listening exercise. And then also, when we get their findings and begin to roll out what they're recommending as best practices, you can collaborate with us again in evaluating how they're working and in areas where you personally can help us make a difference. So we'll look forward to that. We know that best practices on campus security issues are evolving constantly in this climate that is occurring in our country. And it's a good time to engage in this broad review. Now, with that said, let me say just a few more things, and then we'll be happy to take questions. First, I want to acknowledge that we can do a better job at communicating with students, with you, about safety and security issues. And we need to do a better job, we've learned, even communicating during an ongoing crisis. As I've said in lots of meetings that we've attended over the last week, the text message, for example, the text message system that lets students know that the reason for the lockdown came out later than it should have. And we've examined why that delay happened, and we've already implemented measures to fix that and get the messages to come out in a much quicker fashion if this ever happens again. The other thing that we recognize is that students want more frequent text messages during an ongoing crisis so that you can keep up, you can know that we're what we know as we know it. So that'll be part of the system going forward. Another thing that we know is that we need to improve upon capturing everyone's cell phone numbers so that when we have instances where we need to communicate with people quickly, we want to make sure that we can actually do that. And in every meeting that I've attended, there have been a few people who have indicated they didn't actually get the text messages. And so we've got to work with you on getting your numbers into the system. I also think it's important for us to acknowledge that some things worked very well in this crisis and in various incidents over the last week. I would particularly cite the communication between Whittier PD, Whittier Police Department, and Campus Safety that led Whittier PD to come so quickly to our campus when we were needed. And I would also cite the task of locking down residence halls, which took 2.5 minutes, very quick. There were lots of people involved in that, and I want to thank all of them, from the campus safety to residential life staff to RAs themselves, who really went into full gear and quickly made sure that students were safe. I am very glad that we all have a healthy concern for safety and security. It is a campus-wide effort, and so I'm glad that you're here tonight. Fundamentally, we know that this college has a good track record for preventing crime. You should look at the campus safety statistics that are available through Cleary, and you can see that for yourselves. But we'll never be able to prevent every incident. We will never be able to prevent every crime. It is the case that we live in a world where bad things happen. But what that means is that we need to redouble our efforts to ensure that as much as possible you are safe. And we want you to be able to go about your studies and go to your workplaces and go about your activities in a confident and very informed way. And I am committing this campus to improve upon everything that needs to be improved upon and to make sure that you can go about your lives in the appropriate way. This is important to me, and it's important to everyone in the administration. So, again, thank you very much for being here. I would like to give the microphone to Jose Padilla, who can say a few words too. Okay? And then I think we're open for questions.
Thank you. I'm glad everybody's here too. This is the only way we can also solve problems or issues that are going on in our campus community. The best way to do it is get us all together, identify those problems, and work together to resolve them. I just want to tell you a little bit about what your department does here at Whittier. The campus is authorized or gets its authority through the Board of Trustees. We're basically the law enforcement authority on campus. Now, with that being said, we're definitely not a police department. We provide security services to the college, among other services along that route. And our main mission is to secure the campus and provide services such as walkthroughs of buildings, locking buildings, securing buildings, providing escorts, documentation per the Clary. We're also the primary office for Clary reporting. So all incidents that happen on campus, regardless of what they are documented through our department. So among all the things that we do, our main job, our main mission is the security of the campus. And that varies from different points of security, from responding to urgent calls, such as there's a robbery in progress or there's vandalism in progress, that's what we respond to. Anything that's above that, we always, every time there's an incident on campus, or if there is an incident on campus above our service that we provide, we always contact the Whittier Police Department, and they assist us with that. One of the reasons we always ask you guys to call us first is because whether you call 911 from the college, the Whittier Police Department will always defer to us prior to coming on campus. We know the campus better than they do. So when an officer responds to a location for assistance, One of their primary jobs is to assess the issue, report it back to dispatch, and then it gets deployed out to the police department. Our officers receive ongoing training. I took over the director's position about 1.5 years ago, and one of the things that I decided to do was have ongoing training. And that training varies from simple report writing all the way up to investigations. And with investigations, the investigations that our department currently handles right now are thefts, vandalism, and that's a misdemeanor below misdemeanor. So from an infraction to a misdemeanor. Maybe it's a felony, it's always referred to the police department to handle or the appropriate agency. So, in a nutshell, our biggest mission here is your guys' safety. If there are issues within the dorm or issues within an area of the campus that's communicated to us, we try to work with members of the community as well as the Whittier Police Department to handle those situations. And the best thing we've seen in the last couple of years has been promoting to see something, say something, do something. We've seen a huge increase in reporting of suspicious activity. This is your community. We all have a responsibility to secure the community. We can't be everywhere, so with your help, it makes us that much better, it makes us more responsive, and we're able to mitigate those types of issues.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and get started with some of your questions. So Robert, we actually want to bring questions over here just because the speakers kill you. So, better?
Yeah.
Okay. So also, I know there's a bunch of you standing in the back. Please feel free to come sit here. There are tons of open seats up here, amongst the couches and whatnot. So please feel free to do that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start with the questions. Keep in mind that we are, just like all of our meetings, going to keep live tweeting. So thank you to Director Whittier and Senator Whittier for doing that. So you can also join that conversation online at AFWC_Senate. Just as you come to any of our Monday meetings. So if you can't make it to a meeting, you can always follow along. So we're going to go ahead and start with some of the questions, beginning with this one. They're all about student life. It's our first category. So this first one is discussing the dorm. And essentially, this student, as many of you may have been aware of, in certain different magazines, have been rated in some of the country's top 10 worst college dorms. And so their question is, why is it required for students to live on campus until the junior year? And if so, what kind of major changes or renovations are happening in order to change that? So I know we have members of Res and Life here, and there's people.
I'll take that one. I think this is on. Is it on? Can you guys hear me? It's not on? No? Okay.
Okay. So we know that list does exist. I know it's from 2010, I believe. So it is an older list. So I just want to make sure that is out there. Some of the things that we've been doing is we're on a 6-year renovation plan. So every summer we're putting in about $200,000 to $300,000 in renovating the residence halls. This hasn't included furniture. As well as painting, lounge renovations, recarpeting, those kinds of things. And we know that there's more structural issues that need to be addressed, particularly around plumbing, bathrooms. And so there is a plan to address those issues on an annual cycle or annual basis. And so as far as the requirement to live 3 years on campus, we really do strongly believe that students benefit from a residential experience, particularly in developing community, getting to know peers. Studies show that students are more successful academically if they live on campus, and because of the strong peer relationships they develop over time. And so that is a philosophy behind having a on-campus residency requirement, and we do believe strongly in that. Do we know the residence halls need improvement? Yes. It is a priority for the Board of Trustees. They're having active conversations about how to do that, and as quick as possible given our financial constraints. And so there is a conversation from looking at to replacing the windows, potentially looking at air conditioning as an option. Those are things that we are looking into and providing that feedback to the board of trustees as they think about priorities, particularly financial priorities. And so please know that it is a priority for the institution to address the issues with the residence halls. We are on a 6-year cycle. We're going into I believe year 2 or 3, Sally? Year 2 this summer, which will include new furniture for Stauffer. And so we're building up and we're getting to what we can get given our financial constraints. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, the only thing I would add, I'm sorry, I was distracted over here for a minute, but I think you might have said we did a campus master plan about 3 years ago now, and we identified the priorities. Did you say that? Okay. And it is the top 2 priorities for the campus were first, the Science and Learning Center, and second, improvements in the residence halls. So just to know that.
Okay, so the next question
I have a
that,
question.
yeah,
Are follow-up questions not allowed?
that's really up to you all. Do you want to do follow-up questions?
It's just kind of frustrating. I mean, I can write it down. I just didn't want to have to like.
I mean, if you could write it down, that would be great, and then give it to Amber. And
What we can go ahead and do to mitigate that is we'll jump between the categories. That way, we can like, go ahead and assume that question in there. I can see there already. And we'll jump back. So you can still come up and answer questions for classes.
All right. So one of the other questions was, how are you continuing to make our campus more accessible for people with disabilities?
I can start on this one. We are in the process of doing several things. One is the QC was very good about reporting about an incident with a student who was in a wheelchair who had accessibility issues, and her society that was trying to locate classes on campus that would work to make sure that she could get there easily. And we had a map of the classrooms and all the buildings and how someone in a wheelchair could access entry into those spaces. And that map now is 4 years old. The registrar's office, the Office of Disabilities, the professionals from those areas are going around the campus. Last week they completed the map. They updated the map for half the campus. Tomorrow they are updating the map for the other half of the campus. Once that's done, we'll have it up online and it will be readily accessible to all of the offices that plan spaces or that schedule spaces for students and student groups. So that's really important. Other things that we're doing doing braille signage in certain areas, and we'll continue expanding that. And we're going to call a special meeting of people across a variety of offices on campus who will begin working with students who have various disabilities, and we're going to set up a priority list of what the next steps are. Do you want to talk about what happened in terms of the training for the lifts and basically what happened in that situation, please?
Subsequently, our office just received training from Otis, who is the company that repairs and maintains all of the lifts on campus and the elevators. They've received some training in regards to removing or to resetting the lifts as well as the elevators. It's something that we didn't have any training before. It's usually been a facilities response. So the officers received that training in the event that facilities cannot respond, especially after hours. Our officers know what to do.
And frankly, I'm going to recommend that students with various disabilities when they come to campus, actually go through the process of using every lift on campus. Unfortunately, every lift is a different brand, has different instructions, and so we want to make sure that everyone has that ahead of time. One of the most important things, or at least it was one of the most expensive things we've done lately in terms of providing students accessibility, is create the new pathway between the upper campus and the parking lot near the amphitheater. That was a very, very important move that we made to promote accessibility. And we've also planned very, very well making sure that the Science and Learning Center is an accessible space. That is a building that about 80% of our students have a class in that building every single semester. And we need to make sure that it was designed extremely well from an accessibility point of view. So, does that answer the question?
Okay, so another question is, this kind of is a twofer. It goes for security, safety, and residential life. I'm kind of going to ask both questions at once. In regards to recent events on campus, students and staff, assaults, if I or other students don't feel safe with people on campus, how do we go about addressing those issues? Specify why certain people, or I guess kind of the process on why students are still allowed to be on campus at campus.
Okay, going to go first. So I'll start with the one you just recently read, Robert. Well, actually, I'll do the first one first. If there is a concern that you have, particularly with certain people, and you want to report it, the places you go are either campus safety to get a formal report taken, or the Dean of Students Office or Residence Life. Once we receive that report, then an investigator, particularly most likely in residential life, or someone else assigned will investigate the case and then determine if charges can be brought forward with a particular, if a student is charged, and then we'll move forward in the disciplinary process. In regards to the other question, I cannot speak specifics to particular cases. What I can say is the way the process works is if something were to happen, if there was a physical assault or something along those lines, it is determined whether it's an isolated incident or if there's a threat to the community. It isn't an automatic, if X were to happen, it's an automatic interim suspension. We take all the facts into consideration, we try to get everything figured out, as we process, and if there is an immediate threat to the campus community, then we would use the interim suspension. If I or the designee does not believe there is an immediate threat, that it's an isolated incident, then in that case we wouldn't necessarily use the interim suspension. And so every case is different, and so I just want to make sure that people understand that it is a holistic, we try to take a holistic approach. We look at all what we know at the time and determine what the correct action should be. And so that's how we address that.
Okay, so our next category is going to be about campus safety. And we're gonna kind of shuffle back and forth so we can make sure we address everything. And so this one is requesting essentially what is being done currently to ensure that we have increased or better or the best security systems on campus, including but not limited to the training of the Department of Campus Safety, but also just other factors of including our security systems on campus.
So what we've decided in the next couple of days, we're going to be augmenting our staff by bringing in an outside agency while we go through the process of hiring additional officers. The way that's going to work is this augmentation we're going to do is provide a visibility of security around the campus as well as the dorms, so officers can mitigate or deal in mitigating whether it's threat or non-threat situation on campus. As you guys know, we're pretty close to uptown Whittier, down the street from Whittier PD. Sometimes we get a little bit of shrapnel, if you will. We get transients that we have to deal with on a daily basis. We have people that park or drive through our campus, we have to deal with that. And it's really difficult sometimes to deal with those things when you're also dealing with servicing the campus. So unless someone calls that they see something suspicious or an officer sees it, there's a little bit of a delay. And also by augmenting our department until we can fully staff, is this will also allow us to respond to service calls and any other call on campus as well. So our training, the way it works is we have ongoing training and it varies. So we have other departments that participate in training officers and bringing them up to speed with the latest training or whatever's going on in other divisions, specifically in Res Life. So we're aware of what you all are going through and also teach the officers on how to deal with those specific situations. Most recently they had sexual assault training, how to prepare a report, how to do the initial reporting so the investigators can get a hold of that report and then move forward in completing that report expeditiously. On top of that, every year the officers go through, every couple of years they go through a state mandated training. We started that about a year and a half ago. It wasn't required, but that's something that we did to elevate the training of the officers. They received also their version of active shooter. I don't know how many people here have attended our ALICE training. And basically ALICE training really helps you to understand what to do in the event of a lockdown, an evacuation, what you can do for yourself in the event that first responders can't get to you. So they have similar training, a little bit different, in how we mitigate those problems. And that's ongoing. We do that twice a year. We're getting ready to launch an even larger one with Whittier PD and LA County Sheriff. And we're hoping to continue that on a yearly basis. So we're always looking to evolve, or we're constantly evolving in our department to try to bring you the best service possible.
Let me add to that a little bit. It's also the case that every time we have an incident on campus, or when we read about a very serious incident on another campus, we do a review of how things worked. Okay, what went well, what didn't go well. We even get together as a group and talk about incidents that could happen. So, for example, if the health center gives us a heads up about the fact that there are a lot of flu cases and that there's likely to be a flu epidemic, we've gotten together and we get all of the experts in a room and we talk about how we're going to handle something like that. We've done that with the active shooter situations. We've done it with various other incidents that could occur. So that's a very good way in which we review procedures, study cases, and learn how we can make improvements. So that's important. Let me just ask Jose to say something more about the ALICE training, because I know that we've offered it several times and that we want to offer it again now. And that was one of the things that we've heard in these meetings from students, is that they would now really like to participate in them. Could you say a little bit more about the demo and when they might be offered or how they can arrange it?
Sure. I think we have an ALICE training coming up in April. We've done them for staff. We haven't done any for faculty yet. We do them for the RA training every year in the summer. And recently we partnered with the ASWC to get students involved in it. And like I said earlier, security is really everybody's concern. It's our responsibility to respond to those issues. But we hope with this Alice training, at least if we have one individual who's taken the course in a small group in a classroom that took it, that may step up and say, I know what to do. And the Alice training really covers those situations where we do have a lockdown, and let's say you're caught outside of a lockdown, out of a building. What to do in that situation, and where to go. What are your choices? The Alice training really gets you to think about events that you would normally not think about or get caught up in, such as, do I shelter in place or do I evacuate? And by putting students in that situation, these different scenarios that we put you guys in, helps you develop and constantly walking into a building thinking, okay, if there was a lockdown right now, what would I do? If there was an active shooter that was going to breach that door, could I get everybody in here to grab a chair and throw it at them? I know it sounds crazy, but it really does work. And there's documentation online where people have received this type of Alice training or the Alice training where it was deployed. So that's why we encourage you guys to participate in these trainings. They're great, they're very interactive, and you really walk away, hopefully, with some experience and to deal with those type of situations.
And I see at a couple of the meetings, I heard Joe Melendez say that if students in groups of residence halls wanted to do it, he could arrange for us to do Alice training too. So please know that these are the kinds of resources that are available. Let me just conclude that question by saying again, one of the most important things that we can do in the coming weeks is to bring in these outside consultants who can really give a very broad look at what all are we doing and are there things that could be better. So hope that answers.
All right, so the other question is, why aren't students notified about every assault that takes place on campus?
Well, again, I think you have to look at the case involved, and there is an issue of
FERPA in the sense that we want to protect the students.
We can't hear you.
okay, how's that? We have to take every case differently in the sense of we want to protect the student's privacy, and particularly if it's student on student, we definitely look at that and try to determine what is it that happened, what are all the facts involved, and if we feel like it can be a threat to the community, then we will inform the community. In the case of a physical assault where maybe an off-campus person came on campus and did that, it's different. It's a different context, and so in that case, we would most likely notify the campus because it's someone that's not part of our community. And so I don't know, Jose, if you want to say more about how we handle off-campus folks.
So one of the things that we're gonna do different. One of the things we're going to do different is involve our department in the notification process. So we're breaking it down into 3 categories: an alert, emergency, and urgent. So, give you an example. The other a couple weeks ago, when we had that incident with the man with a gun on property. One thing that we're going to initiate is for our dispatchers to be able to at least put out an immediate notification just stating that we're locking down in place, more information will follow. At least that gives you guys some expectation as we want you to lock down immediately and we have additional information coming through. So by having the dispatchers train, and we've been training over the last week or so, on how to put out that information as quickly as possible, and also increasing the amount of information through our Twitter page to keep you guys informed. Anything from there's a Whittier PD activity 2 blocks away, please utilize alternative routes. or there's an accident near the Mar Vista and Painter, that type of information, at least get that information out quickly enough to you all so you're aware of these types of situations.
But is it not the case that students always will learn about assaults because we report them on our Clery stats? You just may not know the full details of an incident, right? But you can go to the Clery stats and you will see the record of every assault that's happened on campus. That's not hidden.
Where are the clear stats?
It's at
The campus safety webpage. There's a, you go to
our webpage, there is a, down under Clary statistics, you can pull up the statistics from there for the last 3 years.
Okay, so another question is, I am not comfortable with the way I feel unsafe walking to campus from home and back. I live close but don't drive. Also on how campus safety is always, I don't really read, but I'm assuming that why campus safety is always not willing, I guess, to give a ride to and from campus, especially as a student of color today, that makes them feel uncomfortable. So I guess, what is the protocol on, I guess, escorting students if they live off campus within the 2-mile radius and bringing them back on campus, especially at different hours of the day? That's what I got from this question. So.
Well, I can tell you that we do provide rides to residents that are not associated with the college within the 2 mile or 1 mile radius of the college. That includes the Mar Vista apartments. That includes down even further down to almost Whittier Boulevard from Painter. And we document all those. So I know that we do offer them. There may be a delay, and again, it also depends how busy the officers are and which shift they are on.
Okay, one more question. Okay, so this is a specific one, but how is a parking ticket $75 when other schools are less? I guess how much, like, I guess the increments is what I want to know, and how much are the increments, the first ticket and the second ticket, and why are they, I guess, so expensive?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that. I kind of inherited the cost of the tickets. That's something that definitely we can look at. And just as a reminder, we don't charge for parking on campus.
Okay, not that you guys are going to listen to my request, but with all due respect, my voice isn't Amber Rasheed's voice, and my voice isn't Robert Duarte's, and it's really the flyer said to hear our concerns and our voices, but we cannot speak. And we are all adults in here, and if you would like us to speak in a respectful manner, there are other ways to do this than besides having 2 people read our questions. You could have had a list where we write our names down, and you call that name up, and we have maybe 2 minutes to say our concerns, and then maybe you have 5 to 10 minutes to respond to questions. But I do not believe that this is the best way to get our concerns out there and actually hear your students' voices. For having this town hall meeting and listening to the administration's demands. So any of this frustration that you may see or that's coming from me, it's not directed towards you guys at all. And I understand that you guys are students too, but I cannot just sit there and I'm not surprised if my request won't be listened to be quite honest, but as you can see that everyone has their decision.
Thank you.
as like, I guess the issues is what President Herzberger and administration have asked are the issues at hand. So kind of answering those questions and addressing those issues as students wrote them in. And that was kind of the agreement that we had with both administration and with the student senate. So do we have another question? One of the follow-ups from the website.
Okay, so this is a follow-up to the answers and the questions that were discussed earlier about disability and accessibility on campus. And so this student was wondering, at what point is the map with all disability centers going to be made available to students? And how are buildings like Flores, for example, going to be made accessible?
Okay, I'll answer that one. My understanding is that the map will be completed tomorrow and that it will be put online, it'll be available to various offices, and so it'll be completely available to whoever needs it. And various offices that do need it are those in student life, registrar's office, and student organizations. So I know that. Can we take a little pause here? Because I want to satisfy people who want to know more information about important issues. So I hear what you're saying about being frustrated with the questions, and I don't want to dissuade that, but I'm wondering if we could stick to one issue so that we can be informative somehow about that. We're skipping around, and I'm fearing that what people might want to talk about are the issues of safety and security. And if there are some questions from the floor, I think we'd be willing to take them, if that's okay with you. Okay. Okay. Can we establish some other ground rules though about this? And this is important. What we want to do is we'd like to hear your questions or concerns about safety, but can we do it in a way that does not impugn, it does not talk about particular people, that really gets to the heart of what processes we have in place. I know that there's frustration on campus. I've sensed it at the meetings that I've been in, that people want information about particular cases. And as Dean Pettis said, we really cannot talk about particular cases. We're happy to talk about safety and security issues in general. We're happy to talk about how processes.
We can't predict situations.
Frankly, what I would love to do, and what I've told other students in this situation, is if it's a very personal situation, we'd love to hear about it, but not in a forum of 100 other people, where we really can't talk about the details in particular, okay? But we're not trying to not hear your particular situation, but it's better for us to do that in a way that protects your privacy, other people's privacy. Does that make sense?
I think President Hertzberger said right. I think, every case is individual, and just as you would want confidentiality if it was your case, and you wouldn't want me sharing it with other people, the same is for your peers. And so I want to make sure that you understand that. And so we could talk about process, about procedure. If you want to ask me questions about the student handbook or why we do the things we do, what's in the handbook, I'd be more than happy to do that. But as soon as you start asking about particular cases and people, we have some obligation for privacy, mainly around FERPA, which is a federal mandate that we don't share information about students with other students or the outside of the community. So just keep that in mind.
All right, so we'll go ahead and do questions. I have a couple of hands already. Again, I ask that let's not address people, individually people, or individual groups, and let's not be slanderous at all to anybody. Let's be respectful as a poet community. That's one thing that I do ask. Please.
So safety is about fear, and I'm fearful of your power. How do you make sure that you don't abuse your power?
Can I walk up there? It's really muffled back here.
So the question was that they fear of the administration's power and their power, I guess, over the students. So I guess the ultimate question is, how can students trust administration, and how can they not fear, I guess, the power that administration holds towards the students?
I'm not, I'd like to ask in what way you are worried about the difference in power. Can you tell us a little about what you're talking about?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, of course.
So an example would be this forum. There's censorship going on, and there's sort of, for example, you're at the front, we're here. I don't know, it's just like structure.
Well, the reason why structurally I chose this structure, the reason why I chose this structure was because it was kind of more of like, they're the ones obviously answering the questions, and then we all as an audience. So that was kind of the way. It wasn't to go ahead and determine power, it was just more of a one-focused seminar. That's kind of what
I can understand that, but that's also evidencing power, you know what I mean? Like, the choices that you make and the emphasis. So, I mean, your question, so you're asking me how am I afraid of the power? I feel like there's skirting around issues here, there's various ways that things have been sort of distracted from. You've said you want things to be general, but you don't want things to be making points about, you want things to be about security, but you don't want things to be personal. You want this and that, they don't really coincide. There's ways of describing the issue. And this is an example of how power can be used to basically silence us.
Let me just try to respond to this in a theoretical way, I guess, because I think this is a campus where we're very open about things that go right and things that go wrong, and we try to learn from it. It's a campus where we hold these kinds of forums, and where students can come and talk to us about issues they have, and do it on any issue that comes up. Dean Pettis, Dean Good, and I meet every once in a while, and we'll offer opportunities to come and tell us anything you want to. So I don't think this is a campus that tries to build on power relationships, but I can see theoretically why you might be concerned.
Okay, another question. Over here. Yeah. Ryan, if you want the mic or if you want to.
It was stated earlier that for the housing that people will be their housing will be taken away unless they're a direct to campus, but what actually makes them a direct to campus, and what do you consider like the qualifications, I guess?
Like the criteria, I guess.
Again, every case is specific. So if I or the designee believe that there's a threat to the greater community, then we would use that. There are cases that are very isolated in that we believe that it's a particular, 2 or 3 people or 4 people, isolated to those people. And so if we really feel like it's not going to spill over to the community, then we make the call that it's not an interim suspension or we kick them out of housing. And so, again, every case is unique. And I know that this answer is not going to satisfy what you're asking, but we try to make the best judgment call possible. And so this is a conversation that happens sometimes between me and one of the other deans, one of the assistant directors, and we make the call. And so that is the thought process. So there's a conversation that happens. There's not an automatic, if this means this, and then we do that. Because every case is unique. I will say in the case of physical altercation, we could check the clarity stats. This doesn't happen on a regular basis. I think the last time this happened was about 3 or 4 years ago. And so, again, every case is unique. And again, I know this doesn't satisfy your concern, but that's the process. That's the process that we use to make a determination whether a student's going to be suspended or not. And so, that's all I can say.
Another question, Matt?
Okay. Well, so cameras won't pick it up. It's not on the mic.
Oh, the cameras won't pick it up unless it's on the mic.
Oh, okay.
So one of the themes that's been coming up at least a couple times here, we're talking about the issues with the res halls and also campus safety, getting more officers. We come back to this theme of financial constraints. Can we talk maybe about what those are and how that's playing out on campus?
Maybe could you elaborate perhaps more on like what exactly financial restraints you're talking about?
Well, the ones that we were talking about, like campus safety can't get more options because the money isn't there. We can't do this and this for the res halls because the money isn't necessarily there. We can't do this or that because, we find that the money is not there. Can we talk about perhaps why the money isn't there, or are we allocating it towards one place at this time so we don't have it in this other place? Just what's sort of the financial makeup of the game?
That's an excellent question, and unfortunately, Jim Dunkelman is not here. He's our CFO, Vice President for Finance and Administration, and he has come, I think a couple of times in the past to talk with students at a ASWC meeting where he can actually outline where all of the tuition money is going, and in fact, what are the sources of revenue that add up to our total budget? So what proportion comes from tuition? What proportion comes from gifts? We have a lot of really wonderful donors who give us funding every year that help extend our budget. And he would be very happy to talk in much more detail about it. But it is that kind of process. We have a budget committee that works every year to create a new budget for the next year, and that budget committee is composed of people from every division of the college, student life, academic affairs. In fact, on the budget committee, several faculty members sit who represent different areas, different committees of the faculty, and all of us sit there and think through what are the priorities for the next year, and then make decisions about how the budget should be allocated. You're asking a really, really important question, and it's something that I think students would be interested in. It's a complicated question, so I would recommend that you invite him to come, and I know he would love to do that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be inviting Jim Dunkelman to one of our Senate meetings in March. I already emailed him, and we're in the mix right now between having 2 dates. And of course, when that does happen, I would encourage a lot of students to come. And he's done this before last year, where he's given us exact, I guess like an exact amount of where everything goes. There's a question back here.
I'm not like two, because you kind of moved to the subject of budgeting. So first, for safety, why not have 3 drills per semester, one for fire, one for earthquakes, and then like a lockdown drill? Because those are 3 really sort of salient safety issues for a college campus in California. And then for budgeting, why not like send out an email or publish some sort of info sort of thing that shows us where the money goes each year once the year is ended?
We have a little problem hearing the questions, but I think I heard, why not do
Drills.
Those 3
3
drills.
drills.
3 drills.
Earthquake, fire, yeah. And a student, yeah, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but a student raised this in a meeting that we had in Turner Hall the other night, and I thought it was excellent. I thought, you know, I mean, we'd like to think that we will never, ever experience an active shooter on our campus or wherever we are, a shopping center, where we go. But unfortunately, in today's world, we see too many examples of this. So I thought it was excellent that the student recommended that. What do you think?
Yeah, currently we do have fire drills, and we are now doing the earthquake drill twice a year. So in October we do the great shakeout, and we're trying to do, I believe we have another one scheduled for April. And as far as the lockdown drill, that's definitely something that we would like to do more often, or at least once a year, to get everyone accustomed to doing it. And as of 2 years ago, we brought in Alice training. That was the motive behind the Alice training, is to start implementing a lockdown drill that would implement or utilize those skills from the Alice training. So yeah, that's definitely something we're working on, and also hopefully work with Res Life and get that done.
And we will do this training better than a school in a college in South Africa, where they forgot to tell people it was a drill. And they had people jumping out of windows. So we will make sure that everyone knows it's a drill. And then your second question, I believe, was can we send something out about the budget? And yeah, I think that we'll pass that along to Jim Dunkelman when he makes his presentation, okay?
I was wondering, what are you guys doing to further accessibility for students with mental disabilities on campus?
Yeah, can you help me understand your question better? Because it's a broad question. So are you referring to access to accommodations, and so you know we have an Office of Disability Services, and Rosalba Rios is the director, and she meets with students, and she has an assistant, so we try to make sure that we have those students with registered disabilities, and we communicate with faculty about what accommodations they might need, so we try to work with faculty for classroom accommodations, as well as anything else they might need outside of the classroom. And so that's how we're handling. If you have a specific concern, I'd be happy to hear it, and we can talk about it. And so, but I don't know if there's any more specific you're referring to other than the services we've already provided.
disability office offers, I went there a while ago and they offered me like longer time on tests or a note taker, and that's not the type of accommodations that someone with like a generalized anxiety disorder would need.
Well, first, let me, I guess, say I apologize for you not feeling like you got the accommodations you needed, or someone that maybe you know didn't get. I would need to know more specifics, then I can follow up with solve it in a specific case and address it in that way. And so all I can say is that I'm open to hear specifics, and then I can attempt to address them or solve it, figure out what happened, what the disconnect was, and make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Another question?
Okay, so President, you said that you were open to have meetings with us and talk to us if you have an issue. I tried to actually set an appointment with your office, and they said I couldn't come in. So, because they said that it wasn't relevant to your business or whatever you take charge of. So I don't know what that was about. Because you said that we're available to us, but that just confused me right now.
Again, I of course don't know the specifics about that, but I can tell you that a lot of students do come and see me. It is the case that that Irene Gallardo, who is the primary person who answers the phone if you ask for an appointment, or who, if you contact me through president@whittier.edu, wants to know what the issue is, and quite often can get you to the right person before you spend your time explaining it to me, and then I tell you to go to the right person. So that is true, that quite often we will try to figure out who can answer your question. I don't often know the answer, and so we want to try to respond to you as quickly as we can and get you to the right person on campus. But I know for a fact that people in my office are very good about helping to connect me with students. And in general, I would urge you to watch for the opportunities when I'm just saying, hey, any students, come and see me, okay? Come to the walk and talks. Sometimes I'm the only one who shows up at the walk and talks, but often other students come and they use that as an opportunity to talk with me about any issue that they want to talk about, or often they don't have an issue, they just want to come and we just talk. And I can ask them about what's going on in their lives, what do they like about what's going on campus, what do they dislike. You can look for opportunities when we meet together. We will announce times when we'll just sit out on the quad or in the CI and talk with students. So there are lots of opportunities to be able to talk to me.
I'm sorry, but when I go to your office to set an appointment, that's why I'm confused on. You said that you're available to talk to everyone about anything, right? Then why is it that I can't at least talk to you and voice my concerns to you? That's all I'm asking, and then you're just saying that you're going to refer me to somewhere else. Regardless of what the situation is, I just want to express how I'm feeling on campus to you if I have an issue. So that you're going to refer me somewhere else doesn't make sense.
Okay. Then I would say look for an opportunity when you see me walking on the campus. Look for an opportunity when I'm advertising that I want students to come and talk to me. Come to one of the walk and talks, or write to me via email and explain what you want to talk to me about.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, President Herzberger has told me, has told the Senate on Thursday of last week that she has an appointment at 7:30, so she will be leaving at 7:20. That was an agreement that we already had. She has an appointment already prior that has already been set, and that's already been known to us a while ago. So we're going to go to Cliff, and then I'm going to go over back to Sam.
So I have a pretty basic question. I really wish something like this had happened before. I think moving from that questions to this sort of format was really good. I was just wondering, kind of a question for both Senate and people here is, would you be willing to maybe write out some sort of formalized amendment to try and have something like this like every year? Because to be honest, that would be a great way to continue the communication.
Yeah, most certainly. I know our student feedback, they do forums, but a lot of times those aren't that well publicized. Unfortunately, it did happen that were these unfortunate events that occurred over these past 2 weeks that had pushed us to have something like this. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's in times of crisis that where a lot of us finally find out that there's all these problems that are happening. So yes, I agree, Cliff, that we will go ahead and write something, and perhaps we can meet with administration and we'll be happy to go ahead and set something up. Sam, you had a question?
Hello. I just wanted to go back to students feeling safe with other students on campus. We've heard a lot about your procedure and the things that need to take place and anonymity that needs to be upheld. And while I completely understand that, you do keep saying that you're deciding whether or not it's a threat to the community. But you've heard numerous community members telling you that they feel like there's a threat to the community. And furthermore, you don't live on campus. You're not walking around here at night. You're not waking up early in the morning to go to class. You're not going to the activities that are here on campus every day. We are. So when we hear somebody say that they're deciding whether or not there's a threat to the community that we live in who doesn't live here, there's sort of a disconnect in there. And I was just curious as to what you had to say about that.
Well, I guess I first will say I apologize if you feel that way. I am committed to this community. My family and I moved here from Seattle to live not very far from here. I do try to attend events on campus. I do try to get to know students. You and I have sat down and had a great conversation.
Because of incidents that short.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is I'm also moving around. I'm also living in the CI. I'm also connecting with other students. So please know that I'm committed to this place. Me and my family are committed to this place. And so when something like that would happen, I do take it. I do evaluate it as a member of the community. And so that's all I can really say. I know it may not necessarily make me happy at how I respond to that, but I am concerned about this community. And so please know, again, I made the judgment call. And so, because that's how I made the call. And so I apologize if you feel that way. And
let me just say something before I have to dash. And again, thank you so much for organizing this. But again, what we're doing is we're bringing in outside consultants who can look at security issues, who can do it broadly. I think what we've heard from you is that the way that we make judgments about this particular incident, or about the safety of students, when there has been an incident of alleged violence between students in our community, we'll have them look at it, okay? And we'll have another.
There's something you can do right now. That's all I'm saying, is that there are definitely things you can do in the future, but there are things that the administration can do right now. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. We hear you.
Yeah, I think Okay, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and continue for a little bit. Oh, you have to go too. Okay, yes, we have a student. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and continue. I guess if anybody has any other questions that they want to ask myself, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability, and we'll of course note them down, and perhaps we could meet at a later time.
Of course. I'm happy to meet again. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the Senate for doing this.
Thank you so much for the
My question is actually for you, Jose. So at the Senate meeting a week ago, we talked about the policies and procedures that campus safety uses to investigate various issues on campus. And we talked about whether or not those were going to be made available to the student body, like vis-a-vis your website. And it's been a week now, so I was just wondering, because when we asked the director of communications, I'm forgetting her name right now, she didn't really give an answer. Like, she kind of said, oh, we'll just figure it out. So I'm just wondering if there's any news on that, or if they know like where that is.
Yeah.
Actually, Ana Lilia, she did email us on Monday, and I did report it at the Senate meeting. She did email me on Monday saying that that it was going under, that it's going into construction right now, and it's almost completely done. If I give me correct me if I'm wrong, that it's almost completely done, and that it's going to be up and running pretty soon. Yeah.
And just to answer the question, yeah, our procedures, not all of our procedures, but our procedures will be posted online on how we handle investigations, sexual assaults, various other items that we deal with. They definitely will be online.
Are there any other questions? Yeah.
I know there are a lot of concerns about communications, and especially like last week with all the events that happened. I didn't receive a text about the person of interest on campus. I didn't receive the text about the student found in Johnson, and I didn't receive an email for either of those things. And I know that it's supposed to be, I update my emergency contacts, but usually emergency contacts are not used. So why would you contact the emergency contacts for like all student texts?
I don't know. Do you have an answer?
I can try to answer.
Or Ana Lilia, perhaps? Ana Lilia Barraza, she's the director of communications here. Perhaps she could answer.
A little bit more knowledgeable about the alert system in terms of background. So, okay.
Tell me again, you said.
I didn't get the text for like either of the awful things that happened last week.
And have you checked your My Whittier account to make sure you have your cell phone number? And it's there?
You have my cell phone number in my contacts email, but I just put like the emergency contacts would be in there as well.
We're using the one that's like if you put cell phone, that's the number we're using. And that's there?
That's
and you
there.
still didn't get the text?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wondering, if you have not received the text and you feel like you've already checked, can you email me at communications@whittier.edu, communications with an S, and I'll check. I'm not the database person, that's more IT, but I could definitely check. It's probably easier if I do it than if you have to go to IT. And that goes the same for anybody else.
All right, do we have any other questions or any other concerns that anybody would like to? Sure.
I got a quick question. I was wondering why this.
How about you?
I was wondering why the dean student is left, because I don't know if he had a meeting or not, but he went that way.
Yeah, so the dean of students, he actually told me right now that he has a meeting at 7:30 with a student down in his office. And then President Herzberger went that way because that is where her office is. So that's kind of one of two.
I'm here.
And we appreciate you. We appreciate you.
I have a question. So I've been the director for about a year and a half, and we've made a lot of implementations in our department. And I've been asked about policies and procedures, and I've answered those questions, and I've also seen the eye rolls, and messages about our department, and we've made a lot of improvements. And I can't tell you we're a perfect department. And as I said at the Senate meeting, this is your department that's working. So I mean, this is really your department, and I'm here to listen to what you want to see from your department. Obviously, we have a mission. It isn't necessarily your mission, but we're constantly looking to improve our department and be responsive and to be there for your needs. And that's what I really want to hear tonight. Even if it's all bad, it's all bad. But I can guarantee you that, as Director of Campus Safety and have made a commitment with the ASWC and other partners on campus to improve our department and also mitigate your concerns. Please take this time and let me know what you've heard or what you would like to see.
Do you have any other questions or anything else that anybody would like to talk about while we're here? Em?
So does anyone have a response first off to Director Padilla? Something that maybe they thought of, or if not, I'm going to go ahead and continue for a little bit. If you think about it, we can, mull it over a little bit. Okay, cool.
This may have just been the opinion of one campus PD officer, but there was a Whittier College or a Whittier police officer on campus telling us that we should not go to campus safety if we have a problem, that they are not adequately prepared or trained to handle certain situations. In most, and he said in most cases, sexual assault and physical assault should not be handled by campus safety, so we should go to Whittier PD to report. Yeah, I would like to question that statement made by Whittier PD officer.
So you initially started with your campus safety officer. That's okay. I just want to make it very clear that we're not a police department. And we do not handle sexual assault investigations. And we do not handle assaults on campus. I've said that many times at other forums. Our primary responsibility is to obviously to mitigate the immediate problem and then document and request either for Whittier PD or if it's something that's already passed and it's been reported to us to properly document and have that properly investigated by trained individuals. But yes, to an extent is right. However, we handle many other situations on campus on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that potentially stop more serious issues happening on campus every day.
Anyone else? So we'll hit back there and then come over here.
Hi, so I'm a freshman here, and one of the things that actually drew me to this college was the fact that it offers self-defense classes, which I think is extremely important. But I've noticed that it's really hard to get into those classes, and that it's really hard for men to take those classes as well. And I think it's important that both men and women and anyone who identifies outside of the gender binary have access to these classes and have the ability to take them before they're further along in their education, especially since a lot of, the younger freshmen are easy targets.
First of all, I'm gonna put my assistant on blast real quick. He's sitting right back there. He is our RAD instructor, one of our RAD instructors in charge of the RAD classes. And I know that we're currently working on a unisex, not a RAD class, but unisex a program that is available to both male, female, or anybody who's interested in taking that course. And we're hopefully to get something up and going by September of next year. But that's definitely something we're looking at. And I encourage anybody to take the RAD class, and I know we're working with a couple of the RAs to put on some just general self-defense classes. If you're welcome to join those, when those are scheduled.
Hello.
Kellycooper. I'm a senior, and last spring my bike was stolen in broad daylight from outside of Hoover. When I went to campus safety, they said that there was nothing that could be done about it, and I was directed to a number of other areas on campus, including the Student Life Center, and eventually Jim Dunkelman, who, in response to me telling him that my only mode of transportation from home to school had been stolen from me, suggested that I get Ubers for the rest of the semester. He suggested that I get Ubers for the rest of the semester. Since then, I've gone and I've talked to a number of people about what can be done about bike safety on our campus. Students and faculty no longer bring their bikes to campus because they don't believe that they are safe. And I know some faculty members who don't even lock them up outside. They'll bring them into their own office so that they don't have to leave them outside. And students even bring them into buildings. When I talked to people last fall, I was told that this would be looked into, and that hopefully in the future, people like me who want to bike to campus would be able to without worrying about our new bikes being stolen. Has anything been done except for emails to the students letting them know that bikes are stolen on campus?
So here goes the honest truth about bikes. We have way too many racks in the wrong place. It really makes it difficult for us to monitor the bikes. Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. Last year we initiated a bike program to try to deal with bike thefts, not just only in our community, but the surrounding community, where it's kind of like the decoy vehicle. We had some success, but not enough. I'd be happy to work with a group of students and my idea is to get rid of some of the bike racks and concentrate on where we have cameras and they're exposed to the public to deter that piece. But I'd be happy to sit down with anybody here who's got a bike and come up with better ideas. I mean, definitely, I'm open to that.
All right, Elise, I think you had a question.
You mentioned earlier that campus safety officers aren't trained to deal with sexual assaults and attacks. Is there any sort of training that campus safety officers could take so that they could be qualified to deal with sexual assaults and attacks on campus?
You're going to have to repeat that again.
The question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was sexual assault classes?
No, are there training for the campus safety officers so that they are qualified?
Oh, okay, training on campus safety officers for sexual assault to ensure they're qualified.
Yeah, I believe I covered that early on. They do receive training in that.
You guys don't deal with it. You said that you guys don't deal with sexual assault.
Well, I don't want to say we don't deal with it. We do participate up until the point where the investigation starts. So if we get a call of a sexual assault in a dorm, we are technically the first responder. We try to secure, if the incident happened there and the scene is there, we secure that scene. We take photographs, we get statements, and subsequently a trained investigator from Res Live arrives and then takes over the investigation from there. But
So you guys do handle sexual assault?
we up until the point of the initial call, but the entire after that, once the investigator gets here, it's handled by Sue Line. So we do receive training in the investigation, but the officers are trained up until a point as the first responder.
Derek, I believe you had your hand up. Do you still have a question or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You said you're going to do a task force of students for bikes. I'm totally down to be on that task force. I'll send you an email or something. Please. But that's really important. When I was a freshman, I also lost my bike. Now I keep it inside because I know it's not safe out there.
Let's hear it. It's J.P.D. at Whittier.edu.
Yeah, J.P.D. at Whittier.edu.
Or j@cox.edu.
Hi, I'm not currently a student. My name is Kevin Presnell, and I'm a member of the Alumni Board of Directors, class 2005. I'm not 100% sure that you're the person to answer this question, and it's, I guess, more of a comment, but I try to kind of keep my ear to the ground as to what's going on here at the college, and I heard that recently a student was assaulted. To me, as an alum and as someone who gives money to the school, I have a huge problem with that. What do you done? And again, this might not be you, this might be the dean of students, I'm just curious, from my own education.
Yeah, I can make any comments just as far as that particular incident. I will say this though, if at any point somebody doesn't feel safe, and this may not be enough for some of you, but it's a step in the right direction, is come to campus safety, file an official report. And those reports are filtered up to the administration and the proper deans and investigators, so there is documentation. So formal documentation is the way to go regarding any complaints or concerns in the community.
So, two concerns. One, going back to that documentation thing, now this might just be from hearsay, but I heard that for a certain investigation, some of the evidence was lost. So, as like a suggestion, just for like, when you're doing like an investigation, you have the documentation for the people who are involved in that investigation, especially the party who has a grievance, maybe just send them a copy so that they have it for sure. And then like, number two, so clarify this for me real quick. You said that for like when there's a sexual assault on campus, like someone from Res Life, like a trained responder from Res Life comes to deal with the investigation. So there can be sexual assaults that are completely non-legal issues on campus.
That are not.
Like, you could keep, so if there's a sexual assault that occurs on campus, first off, like Campo is a first responder, and then like someone from you said someone from Res Life, like a trained investigator, okay, or dean of students. What about calling the police? Is that not a thing that you guys do?
I mean, if I can answer to that, it's up to the student. They have the right to go ahead and call the police or not. And sometimes some students they don't feel that right to call the police. And then sometimes if you don't feel the right to call the police, then that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it's because we are over the age of 18 and we have that right as adults to go ahead and say yes or no to the police, yes or no to an ambulance.
He's right. Our officers in the latest training, we cover this all the time. Even if it's a physical altercation, we always encourage people to call the police. Again, we're not a police department. We don't have that specific training in regards to dealing with that type of investigation. At one point we were in charge of investigating this, a couple of years ago. But we always encourage our officers to encourage victims of whatever they're a victim of, to always call the police department.
Joe Melendez, I believe you have.
We also encourage students to follow according to the police department. However, it is also not our decision to force students to call the police. I know every single incident
As Red Light Training, we also report, or we encourage students to report to law enforcement. However, we cannot force students to make those type of reports. All we can do is make sure that we're informed of the rights and support them throughout the entire process and make sure that we can make it as safe as possible in the system in any way that we can. But we try to empower the student to do what they feel is right. And we support them throughout their decisions. Sometimes we may disagree. That's not our choice, unfortunately. That's their choice.
Okay, another question. Another question, about 5 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up because a lot of us have class or things to partake in.
I'm probably going to ask this when President Hertzberg was here, but it just seems like a lot of the time there's this kind of victim blaming, more or less race culture on campus that administration does nothing about, and it's not even just based on gender or race politics. I have friends that have been kicked out of their dorms and suspended, and one that was even more or less harassed by campus security because they found alcohol and marijuana in his room. But well, again, it is legally a crime fairly, but more aggressive, more genuinely horrific crimes on campus have not been dealt with. But that has, and they sell shot glasses in the student store, so they're sending mixed messages to the Whittier, to poets on campus, and it's just acting like we have no power in basically saying we get to deal with that. And I don't appreciate that personally. I don't know if anyone else here does, but I want to know how can administration kind of deal with that, because this is something I've heard from multiple people today, let alone throughout my years so far as a freshman.
I mean, what I think is, you know, Dean of Students and Res Life, they're the ones who do the investigations on what deems a student to, you know, be whatever the suspension may be, for whatever the sanction may be, for whatever the thing may be. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but it probably, there's a severity under the investigation on what happened, what, you know, who did what, and we as students don't know the exact thing that happened. We may assume from a he say thing, we don't know. So, I mean, that's one thing. I don't know if you want to add to it, or Emma, you want to add to it?
And so, I hear what you're saying, because that's a big part of the conversation that's going on across college campuses, across the nation, in general, right? Like, that's something that we're talking about, and we see it every day. We see examples of it all the time. However, I think it's also important to know, you know, we use these forums and we like to say, okay, these are issues and concerns, and let's talk about them. That's completely valid. And I think we should also note the merits that Whittier College has. I think one of them are the respect for differences of races, genders, etc. And so, like, you all are aware there was a hate crime last semester, and it was a student, and I had written a letter later, and that was myself. And I felt like this institution did a really phenomenal job in dealing with those circumstances and being very sensitive since I stepped foot. There are not a lot of Muslim students on campus. We have, you know, we're here, but there aren't a lot of us. But our needs are still met and dealt with sensitively. So I see, you know, especially parallel to the greater national trend. Fortunately, I think Whittier is on a trajectory that is not following that particular trend in terms of issues concerning race, gender, and other issues like that. And inequality. Was there one last question, or are we ready to wrap up? Okay.
Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Anna Martin. I'm the rent hall rep here. I just wanted to thank all of you for coming out. I know there's not many of you left, but tell your friends thank you for coming and for your questions. This makes our life a lot easier, and thank you, Director Whittier, all administration is still here, especially Director Whittier. Your attitude and like just genuineness of empathy and understanding and trying to like directly address our concerns really is appreciated. And I also wanted to just finish on a note of I have a meeting with Joel Perez, so if you have any issues with Res Life that you'd like to voice, please email them to me. My email is hmartin@poets, or hmartin1@poets, and I'm happy to voice your concerns for them.
And with that being said, you know, we thank you all again very, very much. Please also feel free. Your senators are there for you. We are here for you. So please feel free. Come to a Senate meeting, tweet in at us, email us your concerns. If you email just senate@poets.whittier.edu, then every single member of the executive cabinet will receive that email, and we will be able to bring it up at our Senate meetings and discuss it. And so don't forget that those channels of communication exist as well, because essentially the concerns that you all are dealing with, we're dealing with them, right? We're your peers, but we also have fortunately been given the opportunity to try and mitigate some of those concerns. So the more you communicate with us, the more we're able to communicate with admin, and then the more likely things are going to get done. And so please do not forget that as well. I know a few of us are going to stick around for a little bit if you want to talk to us personally. But thank you very much, and I hope to see you at the Senate meetings and hopefully at another town hall as well.
Is there a way to schedule like a town hall or like a Senate meeting with the names students of the president to have meetings?
Yeah, so good question. So this town hall was a product of a motion that was made not yesterday, but the prior. And so that was because we had at one point we had a headcount of 70 just members of the public. We did have administration there, so Dean Perez comes to our meetings pretty regularly. Joe Melendez wants to run their meetings pretty regularly. So we do have different members of administration regularly at our meetings to hear out concerns and answer questions. But that was kind of a motion that was made in the moment in order to satisfy those student concerns who were, they were like, we need something like this. And so that was the nearest and closest date that would be plausible. However, for future town halls and things of that nature, since that we planned with more ahead of time, that we'll be able to see the schedules and the calendars, we'll be able to do so. But do you know that administration do come to like Senate meetings on semi-regular basis?
Do you say ahead of time who shows up to Senate meetings so that way if like somebody has a specific concern with budget or something, they can go to the right Senate meeting?
Yeah, so if it's something that we as an ASWC Senate have scheduled, then yes, we send out flyers and say, for example, whenever Vice President Duffman is invited, like we'll say, hey, Vice President Duffman is here. However, a lot of them just kind of come in just to hear student concerns. And so we don't know who exactly is going to be there, if they're at the meeting just to hear out student concerns.
Can I ask a question, just to the group real quick? Is it uncomfortable for a campus safety, or for you all to have a campus safety officer, or not an officer, but one of us attend for questions at these meetings, or is that inappropriate?
No, I think it's more appropriate.
And the reason I say that is, you know, we don't live here, but our officers are here 24/7. So they basically, our department is with you guys 24 hours a day. And as I said before, this is your department. And one of the ways we make changes is with this great group that represents you guys and brings those issues. But I have no issues in standing in a group and hearing dissatisfaction. Nice to hear something nice, but you know, to hear dissatisfaction. Because that's the one we're going to improve. You know, and again, this is your department. You know, it's our responsibility to make sure we address whatever issues arise, and we have them, and we'll do the best we can to deal with those issues. And you know, I have students that come to my office and demand to speak with me, and when I'm available, I'll provide that audience. But I do have an email address. You also have a great advocate in my department. She's awesome, and her name's Perez. And she's a great point of contact if you don't want to deal with one of us, even if it's a complaint. Our website, I believe right now, does have the ability for you to file a complaint if you need to, discreetly, or you can arrange a meeting with myself or Jeremy Adcox, and we'd be happy to deal with that. Okay? That's all I got. Thank you guys for...
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all so much.